Hi, I'm Dr. Gingrich. I will be your professor this semester for animal husbandry and genetics. I just wanted to take a moment to introduce myself. In these online courses, sometimes it can seem that it's very impersonal. I want you to feel like you can always come to me with any questions that you have if you need explanation on assignments. All of the course sections for this particular course are designed by the same person and then taught by several different people. Because of that, we all have the same content that was developed by the course developer. So I don't have control over your specific assignments, but I'm here to help you through those assignments. So what you will see typically is every week you'll have a video where I try to explain areas that I think might need more explanation, particularly on the assignment side of things. So if I think there's certain concepts or parts of the assignment that need more explanation, you'll find it there in those videos. Those videos will always be in the announcements because that is the only thing that we really are allowed to change in that core course because that needs to be standardized for all the different courses. So check for those each week in the announcement section and check periodically in case a student has a question and I update that. So if I see a lot of people struggling with something or asking me a question, I might add another video that week to further explain that. If you have any questions throughout the semester, the best way to reach me would be through the email in Canvas. What I want to do next is to go over to the course and just show you how it's laid out, just so that you can get a start right away learning the concepts and not dealing with how to navigate throughout the course. So let's go over to Canvas and take a look at the course together. Here we are in the home screen of the course. The announcements will pop up here. You're not seeing them now because this one hasn't been posted yet, but this is where you'll see the announcements. It will show you the 6 most recent announcements, and you can go back and click over here to see older announcements if you need to go and check something that's a little bit older. First, we'll take a look at the syllabus. So the syllabus will give you information about the course. The course description is here. What we do in this course is we look at the genetics of animals and how inheritance works. With this inheritance, we're looking at the idea of setting up breeding programs in a way that preserves the genetic diversity of that particular group of animals. We want to make sure that if we're in a zoo or farming or whatever, when we are breeding animals for the next generation, we're keeping the genetic diversity that exists in this current generation. So we don't want to breed individuals that are highly related to one another so that over time we lose a lot of the diversity that was in our original population. And that's really important both in farm type breeding and in conservation programs. So that will be a big emphasis. We'll look also a little bit about quantitative genetics and molecular genetics. You can see some of the course outcomes there. One of the things I want to point out with the grading policy is the late policy of unity, because they are very strict about the late policy and we are under obligation to adhere to this. If you have work that is 1 day late, it will reduce the grade by 10%. If it's 2 days late, 30%, 3 to 6 days late, 50%. After 6 days late, it's not accepted. You want to make sure that you stay up with your work. One of the reasons for this late policy is in a 5-week term, you really don't have time to get behind and then get caught up. It makes it very, very challenging for you. And we don't want that to happen. We want you to be successful. So if anything comes up during the semester where you are struggling with getting an assignment in, you don't understand the assignment or something else happens in your life, the best thing to do is to get in touch with me as soon as possible, because then we can try to figure out how to get you on track. Please make sure you email me if something like that comes up. You can email me by coming over here in Canvas and clicking on this email button. We don't have a textbook for this course, so everything that you will be assigned as far as reading goes is here in Canvas. You will be using Labster for some things. That will send you out to another site, but that is paid for through Unity. But you might find some useful links here when you're using Labster. As it says here, you can expect me to respond to your email within 24 hours. That also means that you need to be checking your email about once a day and check the announcements on the course to see if anything has been updated there. If you have issues with Canvas itself or something at the Unity site, there's a link here for Unity's IT support. They're going to be your best bet for trying to resolve any technical issues. When you have discussions in the course, you typically have 2 postings a week. Your first post is your initial post. That's typically due by 3 a.m. on Thursdays, and then you will have a response post that is typically due by 3 a.m. on Monday. 2 posts per week. We have to have the first one so that then you can reply to one another in your second one. If you don't post the first one and you put them both on basically the reply date by that 3 a.m. Monday, you'll only get credit for the reply and not the initial post. Every assignment in the course has a grading rubric, and I'll show you that in a few minutes. If you need a learning accommodation, this is a link for you to fill out the form for that. You should also make sure that you are clear on Unity's honor code. Part of that honor code is to ensure that everything that you submit to a class is your independent work. Part of ensuring that work is yours is the college also uses Turnitin. Turnitin is a plagiarism checker. It will look at your work and compare it to other works that have been published. And it will give us a % overlap, which you can also see. You want to make sure that you check that Turnitin score when you submit assignments. I also want to come down to this area that talks about generative AI. So generative AI is essentially looking at things like ChatGPT, where you can put in a prompt, you can ask it to write an essay for you. One of the things you want to make sure about is if you do use ChatGPT for anything, you need to make sure that you also cite it and you cite it correctly, and that is given here in these links. You also want to make sure that you double check the accuracy. ChatGPT is not always giving you accurate information. There are times it makes mistakes, and when you put your name on it, you're owning those mistakes. So you want to make sure you check what it gives you and you don't just hand in something blindly that it has provided for you. Now, most of what you're going to look at is here in modules. So let's go over to modules and take a look at that. You'll see we have the course overview, and then you're going to have 5 modules representing the 5 weeks of the course. Each module is a week. When we click in here, the first thing you're going to see is an overview for that week, and then you're going to see some of the activities. One of the things you can do here is you can either just click on next, and if I click on next, it's really going to go to this first thing here, the introductions. This is an assignment where it's asking you to introduce yourself. Once you've done this, you can click on next and it will go to the next assignment. Basically what is happening here, if I click on those next buttons, is it's going down the list. There's a couple ways I can get to that content. I could click on the first one and just kind of scroll through and go next, 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 or I can come back over here and click on one and go straight to that. I can come here and go straight to this week 1 discussion. You're going to have typically 2 different things for your discussions. You're going to have your initial post that's due Thursdays at 3 a.m. and you're going to have a response post that's due Mondays at 3 a.m. If we come back to the syllabus for a moment and I scroll all the way down, at the bottom of the syllabus you'll see a course summary with dates. So this is telling you when some of these things are due. Be careful, because here when it says week 1 discussion due essentially over here Monday 3 a.m., that's the final response. That's not including that initial post. So that can be a little bit misleading. So with these discussions, you're actually going to have 2. Your first one is due Thursday by 3 a.m. and then that final one is due Monday by 3 a.m. If you want to just go straight to a discussion, you've done the initial post, you just want to go straight back in and do, let's say, your reply post. If you click on discussion, you can see each of the discussions listed there. You can check your grades here. You can also look at your individual assignments here. So if you click on assignments, you can see all of those. So you can also see which ones have been done. So we can see over here the weighting of those different assignments. Your course project is worth 40% of your grade, the assignments are worth 30%, and the discussions are worth 30%. There is no extra credit in the course, and that is to standardize across all courses so that everybody taking this course is using the same rules. Come back and look at these announcements to see where I might have additional videos that help explain the individual assignments for that week. All of your assignments have a rubric associated with them. In addition to reading carefully over the instructions, you also want to carefully look at the rubric so that you make sure that you've got everything and you can see how the points are assigned. If we look here for our first discussion, where you will find that rubric is up here where you see the 3 dots. If I click on those 3 dots and I go down here to show rubric, it will show you exactly where those points are coming from. In addition to reading those instructions on what it's asking for, make sure that you look at the rubric. Go into Module 1 here, and we'll look at our first assignment. If I look at the assignments, you'll actually see the rubric down below the assignment, listed right below the instructions. If you want to take a look at your course project, you can see that you're going to be working on a genetic plan, and you also can see that there's different sections of that and a detailed rubric below that. With this course project, you're going to be doing pieces of it throughout the term. For every assignment and discussion, you want to look at the instructions, what it's asking for, and look at the rubric. Please make sure you reach out to me if you have any questions. Again, I'll be checking email daily, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. I hope you have a great term.